Because the honest truth is some managers, for whatever, a variety of reasons, time constraints, personality challenges, they may not be able to give you the constructive feedback that you need to take you to that next level. So you draw it out of them. Ask questions that you look to get to the next level, or if you're a local, God forbid, what does it mean to become hypo, and have literally practical things that by the time you do your next review, you're able to say, oh, I have now worked on this, I have now worked on this, I have now worked on this. And that's literally growth. What's promotion? Is being rewarded for growth. So you have to first demonstrate growth before you can be promoted. So yeah, that's and maybe one thing I'll throw in there. If for example, early in your career, it's not really you may not have the opportunity to pick and choose. So you landed a job because you needed a job. But at the time that you're growing, for example, if you look at some of the things that are celebrated in that company and not the things that are part of your core values, let me say, or when you look at the broader industry or the global scale, those are not things that are going to be rewarded in the long term. You can actually, based on that, start charting your path out of that organization. Get your promotion there, while you can, but when you can get to the point where you have some power to pick and choose, start charting your path out. And one thing that I wanted to make sure I mentioned also is when it comes to growth within organizations, especially international organizations, some of the things that you used to get teased about in school, that you stay away from it, or that you used to insult people for doing, are the things that get rewarded. I too know. Everybody tries not to be or tries not to be too forward. You don't want to take initiative. Those things, look out within your organization. Some organizations more so than others, but those things that you might have shied away from for cultural reasons, Nigerian, African, so you don't talk too much, all of those things are things that may keep you back from being promoted. So just start observing what are some of those things that are rewarded in your organization and make sure that you're also doing them. Yeah? And if you can't do them, reach out to people that are doing them and ask them how.
How? Yeah. You're right. You're so right. So I think we've got some questions, but before I read the questions, I think the point you're making around proving yourself is a very important one. I had it as one of the things I wanted to talk about. Once you've gotten to that point in your career where you're seeking promotion, you need to prove yourself. And Cletus touched on it. Your performance is important. People don't get promoted in corporate organizations because they've been there long enough. It's not a police barracks. I mean, no, not making light of the police force, but you don't get promoted in the likes of ESP Marketing or Coke or GBfoods just because you've been there long enough. No, you must prove yourself. So the first point before you even start thinking of being promoted is, are you justifying the promotion that you're looking for? And I always say pay the price ahead. So if you're looking for a step forward, you want to get to the next level in your career, work like you're already in that next level. Ask yourself what's expected in this next level. Already do it now so that you are justifying the promotion. And when so the one thing is work hard, prove yourself, ask for feedback. And Cletus touched on it. Ask for feedback. Ask how am I performing. Ask not just at review times. Ask how my after every project or every job you do. Ask your peers, your mentors, your line manager. Ask for feedback genuinely with an open mind. Ask, could I have done this differently or better? I think this is one of the things that has helped me the most in my career. Everybody who knows me knows that I always ask for feedback. Even if you're a junior person who's working with me, if we do something together, I will ask you, could I have done it better? Because you only get better based on the feedback you receive. And when people give me feedback, even if it hurts, I still take it with an open mind. I say, Rosemary, but you asked for that feedback. So even if it's paining you, collect it and work on it. So work on your feedback. But my final point on that one before I read the question is, once you've gotten to the point where you're confident that actually I need to be promoted, ask for it. Ask for it more times than not. Promotions don't fall from the tree and fall on top of people's heads. Ask for it. I have an experience when I was in Coke. I was senior brand manager Colas, and there was an opening for marketing manager juice. This was just before the plants. I don't know. I've been there many years ago. Some of you may not remember when the juice plant got burnt. So the marketing director then and the HR director mentioned that they were going to hire someone from outside for the marketing manager role for what was it called then? It was called non-alcoholic, something I forget what the name was, but the person was going to be responsible for the juices and energy drinks then. So I said to myself, Rosemary, you'll be here to go and hire somebody else, and you've been working so hard as a senior brand manager, and you're waiting for a marketing manager role. So I went to HR director and I told them that I wanted to apply for the role. He said no, that they want to recruit from outside. I said why? He said because there's no internal person who qualifies for the job. I said, who's the recruiting manager? He says the marketing director. He told me he was the marketing director. I went home. I remember it was Kofi Amageshi then that was the marketing director. I went home and I wrote a long episode to the marketing director. And I attached all the commendation I had gotten. I attached all the you've done well, all the commendation letters I had received over the last 2 years that I was senior brand manager. I attached every single thing. And you know what I was asking him? I said, Kofi, just allow me to be interviewed for the job. If I don't do well, then I shouldn't be taken. But I think it will not be fair if I'm not given an opportunity. So they said, okay, we'll open it up for internal people to apply. So I was allowed to apply along with external people. Of course, having been in Coke for a couple of years, I knew the questions they'll be asking. And I know that Coke will ask you star questions in star format. So I was ready. And with the interview external people and the interview internal people, of course, I did better than everybody else and I got the job. But my point is, if you've worked hard, you've asked for feedback, you've received the feedback, you've worked on the areas that you're supposed to work on, you're performing, don't be shy to ask for a promotion. Don't be shy to ask for it. It doesn't fall off from the tree. Someone is going to get promoted, either internally or externally. You better position yourself to be one of the people who stand the chance. And also, speaking about promotion, if you don't get it the first time, don't feel bad. Sometimes people don't get what they ask for when they want it, and they feel like, oh, the world is about to end. Oh, I now feel slighted because I didn't get it. No, it's just a blip in your career. Overlook it and keep moving. Just ask yourself, what did I learn? What didn't I do well? What could I have done differently? Pick the learnings and keep going. So shall we see what questions our people have for us?
Yeah, I think there's one here about what if your mentor, you're not benefiting, and what do you do? Look, for me, I would just quickly say two things, right? One, have an honest conversation with the mentor, okay? Just try to understand, because sometimes, mentors, by the way, they're human beings, so they struggle with a whole lot of things as well. They're trying to juggle things. So understand why the person doesn't have your time, right? Make it an honest conversation. And if at the end of that conversation, you discover that this person truly, yes, maybe the person is willing to do it, but just doesn't have the time to do it for me, then you have to move on. You have to find another mentor, right? You can't get stuck on one mentor. There are millions of mentors out there, so you can get them very quickly. That's one thing. Then the second thing I also want to quickly add, just what Rosemary basically, when she was talking about that promotion is not going to fall upon your head. That is very, very true. But that is, for me also, it goes back to understanding the cultural differences, that exist across companies, right?
Yeah.
In Procter & Gamble, where I spent 11.5 years, promotions were pretty much predictable. 3.5 years in, I knew I was going to get promoted. Like at the end of my 3.5 years, I knew I was going there, right? Because P&G's culture and so structured, promotion is metric driven, it's predictable. There are time factors, so you can do all kinds of permutations, and it can literally predict when you can get promoted, right? So P&G was very structured in that sense. And it was also a world where if you do it very well, if you build a beautiful mousetrap, people will recognize and say, hey, you've got a beautiful mousetrap there. Therefore, you're getting promoted. When I joined Coca-Cola, that was one of my steepest learning curve. So it was no longer enough to build a beautiful mousetrap, but I needed to take my trumpet and go on top of the mountains to say, guys, bam, bam,
Stop blowing it.
I have a beautiful mousetrap here, right? Cultural differences. So you have to go out for it. You have to talk to people. You have to ask for feedback. You have to And for me, imagine me coming from P&G. I had an out of body experience, because I believe I was the kind of person, do your work, your work will speak for you. Don't shout, don't bother about, and I'm very cynical about office politics anyways, naturally. So, and Coca-Cola taught me that, yes, the work will be very different. So I think recognizing those cultural differences can really, really help you in terms of being promoted. Yeah.
And I think that discussion naturally leads us into the becoming a manager, because we'll be ending on the note of getting into the C-suite. But becoming a manager, when you're promoted into a manager, what does it mean? And what are the sort of critical behaviors you need as a manager to get yourself ready for the C-suite? What's your view, Ayomide?
Sure, happy to go. So I think one of the first things is you're transitioning from what you said before, where on that list of 4 things, the number 1, number 2, number 3 is your manager's responsibility, is now becoming your responsibility. You're moving away from being someone that just executes what they told you to do, you're doing it. You're now becoming a thought partner with the person who's your people, your direct person you're reporting to. You're literally co-creating in some cases the vision for the function, the direction for the function, and the how as well, how you execute. And you're now taking end-to-end responsibility from the ideation point or from the visionary point, deciding what exactly you're going to do for whatever the question or the question is, all the way through executing policy control and then even tracking the outcomes. You now have responsibility for it. Maybe not absolute responsibility, depends on what level of management you're in, but you are now going away from being a receiver of direction to being an owner. So that's one of the key shifts. You can't wait for people to tell you what to do anymore. And you can't take absolute initiative either. It's like you think through what it is that you think would be best in this, align with your manager or the executive that you're working with, and then take ownership and run with it and execute on it. Always still pull in your direct reports for support on knocking out barriers or getting buy-in where you need it, but you are the owner of that process. I think that's the biggest switch, and for most new managers, and I'll say it happened to me as well. So nobody's going to tell me what to do. Nobody, well, what? Nobody's telling me what to do. Okay, this is weird, but that's literally what it is. And just speaking very quickly to what's happening with promotion. If you get promoted prematurely, it will be a very painful experience for you, because ordinarily, like what Rosemary said, you'd have started demonstrating some of those things in your non-managerial role. You've already kind of practiced those things. You become a third partner to your manager. You've already started taking ownership of some things. So it won't be too much of a shock to you. It will still be a shock because they're still used to getting direction at a certain level. And the manager role doesn't mean that you're now absolutely, autonomous, but you're taking more initiative. So even your growth, all of your experience stacks on each other. So if you jump any particular, it's not like in primary school where you can get double promotion and it's a good thing. Sometimes it's a good thing if you've already been demonstrating the skills, but it could be a setup for some pain. I won't say failure, I'll say some pain. If you try to fight for that promotion and you get it too early, it could be painful. You still grow, right? But it could be painful. But there's something else I was going to talk about.
No, that's fine. I mean, one of the things that you will find in many resumes, many adverts when they're asking for managers is ability to work without supervision. So, and I think that that's what you've touched on strongly. As a manager, you need to be able to work with little or no supervision.